The fan reactions of West Virginia's new basketball coach, Ross Hodge, has been mixed. There has been a lot of backlash, to me, surprisingly, of Renbaker's decision to bring Ross Hodge to Morgantown to be the next men's basketball coach for the Mountaineers. In this episode of Hoops from the Hills, I'm bringing on a special guest, someone who has covered Ross Hodge, somebody who has seen Ross Hodge up close and personal. He's going to kind of educate us a little bit on what we can expect. What kind of coach is Ross Hodge? What kind of man is Ross Hodge? What is West Virginia getting in this new basketball hire? We're going to bring on a guest who knows it, somebody who covers North Texas over at the North Texas Eagle, Mr. Miles Meador. Miles, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me on and kind of giving some helpful insight to some of these fans. I mean, I've been looking all over and I've seen a lot of more negativity, but I feel like that was expected. Someone not as notable to a lot of major people. I will say Ross is one of the best people I've ever met. I mean, if you guys haven't listened to Coach Grant McCasland, Texas Tech head coach, what he said about Ross, not just on the one they posted on y'all's social media, but his interview before the game yesterday, their Sweet 16 game yesterday. I mean, it's on point. So I appreciate having me on. I mean, Ross is a pretty good friend of mine. So
Good. Glad to hear it, man. Yeah, I did see that, and I do recommend. I'm like you. I recommend. I actually felt like he was starting to get choked up a little bit talking
yeah,
about it. That's how much Ross Hodge means to him. So, and I also heard his interview on 365 Sports the day before. I don't know if you
yeah.
checked it out or not, but they asked him about it, and he said I'm happy for him, but at the same time he's not happy because I'm now scared to death because I have to play against him. He said that's how good of a coach he is. And of course, then he went on to talk about how he's an even better, father and husband and all that. But he speaks highly of his ability as a basketball coach. So, what kind of
Mhm.
coach, Miles, is Ross Hodge? What's his philosophy, and what can Mountaineer fans expect from him?
Well, I mean, I think he's one of the best defensive coaches in the entire country. I mean, when he was the associate head coach under Grant McCasland, when Grant was here in Denton for 6 years, I mean, North Texas from the beginning, you could tell they had a better defense, and time again, it was continuing to rise. And these past few years, North Texas has been top 5 in scoring defense. They've been defensive efficiency. They've been this year they're 42. Last year was a little bit of a struggle, but the year before that they had one of the top defenses in efficiency. I mean, so he's a defensive oriented guy,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean here he has a little bit less to work with, less resources, less money. You can't always get the guys that you want,
Mm-hmm.
but he's a JUCO guy. I mean, he was the coach at Midland after Grant left Midland. I mean, I see a lot of ties with Coach McCasland. I think he took a lot of what he did here at North Texas to what he did when he took over. And, Grant pushed for him to get that head coaching job right after he left. And, I mean, it was a shoo-in no matter what. But, I mean, he is a defensive oriented guy. And he's consistently, I mean, their practices are always physical. I mean, he brings a mindset of toughness and, the same thing that McCasland does toughest team wins
Yeah.
and playing for 40 minutes. Those characteristics that he has are a big reason why North Texas has been successful. And a lot of people were saying, you know, he's really slow offensively. North Texas has one of the slowest tempos in the entire country offensively.
Mm-hmm.
And, you look at what Grant did, he had the same thing and he went to Texas Tech. And now while they didn't jump that much, they got a little bit faster because you have a little bit more resources, more players to work with, and different
Right.
talent than you do have here at the lower, I wouldn't say lower level, at the mid-major
Mid-major
level.
level. Yeah.
Um, so I mean, I don't expect it to be that slow. That's what I'm really thinking because, if you have different types of athletes on your team and you're not really diving into the deeper part of the lower major level who have had success, his philosophy is like that. He wants to find winners.
Yeah.
And I mean, you look at this team that they have right now. Many of these guys played in the NCAA tournament. They won their conferences. They're winners at their old schools. They came here and they're still winning. Now, maybe not a conference championship, but right now in the semifinal of the NIT, so he's going to find the right people and he's going to bring winners into the program, and that's what he does all the time. And his first year it was really tough. He got the job in the first week of April, and that's really hard window to work with. If
Mhm.
you look at the portal, and this year it's a little bit closer to the date of when North Texas is going to hire someone, so that's going to be even bigger disaster here. But he has a lot to work with, and Ren was our AD
Right.
for several years. I think he was there 2016 to 2022. So he was there with Ross for almost the entire time.
Mhm.
So I mean, when I heard that West Virginia opened up, I talked to someone and they were like, "Yeah, like Ross is up there, and you guys miss on McCollum, miss on all those other guys."
Yeah.
And I know it's a big topic, but um, I knew Ross would be the perfect candidate for that
Yeah.
job, and it sucks to say it because he solidified a good program, and they continued the success they had before.
Mhm.
Uh, and it sucks a little bit, but I can't be more happy for him. I mean, he deserves it. And it's a little fun fact, side story. I've known Ross for a long time since he got to Denton because his children went to the same school my mom taught at. So my
Awesome.
mom taught his kids, and so we've had a little bit of a relationship. He's helped us out a little bit.
Good
I
deal.
mean, he's a great, great person, and he has the basketball mind that you really want.
Mhm.
He's 44 years old. Um, he's going to bring in the right amount of people. Now, I don't know for sure if who he's going to bring from North Texas. We only have really 3 guys that would be kind of eligible to transfer out because a lot of these guys are graduating. So
Right.
I'm not quite for sure on that, but I mean, this is I mean, bias aside, he brings in a different level that West Virginia probably hasn't had in a little bit. I think Bob Huggins was a fantastic coach, and it seemed like they
Mhm.
had a pretty solid defense
Right.
throughout his time there. And I watched a little bit last year. It was crazy. Y'all didn't get in the tournament, but I mean, I would expect with what he does in these next couple weeks. I mean, I could totally see West Virginia in the NCAA tournament next year. I couldn't
Wow.
see a drop off.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be really tough to see a drop off because I mean he brings that intensity every time, and his game plans. Now, there's a little stat that was great, and it depends on if Phil Forte does go over to West Virginia.
Mhm.
Pretty likely. North Texas is one of the best teams, top 5% in out of bounds sets. So, or
Yes.
out of bounds after timeout sets.
Right.
And I mean, it's like it was mind blowing to see almost every single time out of a timeout or out of
Mhm.
a not penalty, a foul. They're really efficient in that part of offense, and they've struggled a little bit. You can testify that might be the players, might be the slow pace, but if he brings on those guys, I mean, I couldn't see a drop off at all. I mean,
So
it
yeah.
would be
So
tough.
so is Phil Forte the one who draws up a lot of those plays? Is that what you're saying there?
Phil Forte is that guy. He's
Okay.
the Grant even credited him in a press conference at the end of the year because we brought it up, and I mean and Forte. I mean, he is a fantastic young coach. I mean, it would be shocking to say that he would stay at another program for more than 2 years. That's how talented he is,
Yeah.
and I could totally see him having a head coaching job in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, maybe
'Cause
this is it. Maybe
yeah.
coming to West Virginia, being an assistant
Mhm.
under Ross Hodge, and then maybe what happens if Oklahoma State's not able to turn things around?
Yeah, and I
Maybe
think
he's the next guy. You know what I'm saying? That's his
that
alma
would
mater,
be
obviously. Maybe that
yeah.
would be the next step for him.
And Lutz is a fantastic coach. He
Mhm.
kind of had a little short end of the stick when he got there, but I mean he made them a little bit competitive. I mean, I know they got blown out a lot, but I mean, if he does not work out there, I could totally see Forte in a couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, he has that bright young mind. But Ross, I mean, um, when he took over here 2 years ago, I mean, you could just sense he was going to be successful. I didn't now personally, I didn't think he would be gone after 2 years. He didn't really have the accolades like Grant did, who went to Tech. He had those accolades. Ross really didn't. But I can totally see why he went. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no
Well,
reason he won't be successful.
how do you, speaking of that, I'm glad you mentioned that. Do you think the familiarity that Ren Baker has with him is probably the reason that happened?
Yeah, I mean, the whole time when this was all happening, I kept on hearing Ross is, their top two guy, and they kept on number one times, and I mean, he's still there, and it sounded like he did good when they talked to him, and it was the writing was on the wall, especially on Sunday night,
Mm-hmm.
going into yeah, really Sunday night. That's when I started to hear a lot. Monday night is when I
Okay.
heard a lot. So it seemed like it was a done deal Monday, and they were just waiting until they played their game because. See the ironic part about this is we played Oklahoma State 2 years ago in the NIT quarterfinals. We went to Stillwater. Grant accepted the offer at Tech before the game, told the players it wasn't really public, and then he went public after the game, after we won the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the same thing happens with Ross. Oklahoma State in Stillwater some NIT quarterfinals.
Yeah.
He gets agreed on before the game, done after the game.
Yeah.
So it was a little ironic when I was driving up there. I was like, man, this is odd.
Yeah.
This is really weird, but I could not be more excited for him. I
Yeah.
mean, he has that it in him,
Mm-hmm. Well, in today's landscape of college sports, I mean, this transfer portal window being right here in the middle of the postseason, like it is forcing teams to act quicker on their coaching hires. It's forcing coaches to have to, unfortunately, take jobs before they're even finished coaching. Like in Ross's case, and
Mm-hmm.
heck, you've got the Maryland coach coaching in the NCAA Sweet 16 last night. Who knows where he probably is not even going to be at Maryland next year. I mean, it's just it's crazy. I mean, something needs to be done about it, but we'll save that for another show.
Yeah.
But so unfortunately, it's caused. Now, I have a lot of respect for the fact that Ross is staying on to coach his team
Mm-hmm.
for the rest of the season, because I know it's probably tough. He's already having to recruit the transfer portal and do all those things while he's still trying to coach a team. It's got to be tough. I'm sure he's probably not sleeping a whole lot right now. So,
and those
is that
guys,
okay? Are the fans at North Texas okay with that? With him doing that? Is that fair to say?
I mean, you have a handful that are like, oh, he's a traitor and things like that, but it wasn't really anything. I mean, a lot of fans have kind of accepted this as a, stepping stone place.
Yeah,
And obviously a lot of places are stepping stones. So,
we
it's
are too, to a degree. To be honest,
exactly. Everybody wants to get to the higher level, but North Texas is that place where when a good coach comes in here, you don't expect them to stay that long. And that's happened in our football program a lot. A lot of our assistants, young assistants come in, they do great 1 year and they're gone the next year. Happened in basketball. So it's tough. I mean, but a lot of fans have kind of just accepted it. It's like,
yeah,
well, can't do much about it. We can't pay $3 million a year.
yeah,
We couldn't even give him $1 million. So
yeah,
it's like I mean that's life changing in a sense. You're
absolutely,
set for a long time, especially if you're there for 5 years, like his contract is. So you're getting $18+ million a year. I mean, I wouldn't turn that down either, no matter how much I loved UNT. I mean, I would be gone within, however much it offered, even if
right,
it's it's in a tough conference, but I know that's a good program that's going to give him support. The biggest thing this year, and the thing is, he's not really going to call anybody out. I mean, we had a whole debacle with the NIT scheduling. We had a staff luncheon on Wednesday, and our game was on Tuesday, and they took up the floor, and we couldn't host because we were the 2 seed, and Oklahoma State was a 4 seed. So he didn't even say anything about that.
really,
So he's not really going to be the guy that's going to go after and be really direct, because we asked him the question after the game on Tuesday. The thoughts on the rumors, and I posted it on my Twitter. His quote. Um, it was basically like, I'm not going to comment on it, but yeah, I'm leaving. There's no
yeah,
denial. Will Wade went out and said, yeah, I'm taking the job.
yeah,
That's why I was wanting, but obviously not nobody. Will Wade's a little bit different than a lot of other coaches in college
definitely,
basketball.
yeah,
So him and Rick Pitino will probably be the most direct. So it was bound to happen, and it's the fans just accept it at this point. It's tough. It's tough to lose someone and kind of have a complete overhaul. When Ross came in, it wasn't really an overhaul. Now you're in a complete overhaul. So it's a little bit more unknown than it is, sadness, because who
Yeah.
knows what's going to happen. But
Yeah.
no doubt he's going to kill it. I mean, I've never been more confident. I knew Grant would kill it at Tech. Jeff Goodman, the clown that he is, doubted it. And I bet you he'll say something about Ross, doubting Ross, and Ross will be in the Sweet 16 probably by year 2, and he'll eat those words up too.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeff Goodman, speaking, I'm glad you mentioned, by the way, just a reminder, I'm speaking with Miles Meador from the North Texas Eagle. Go check his workout at on site at, I guess, the UNT Eagle or NorthTexasEagle.com.
On
What is the site
Patreon.
over there, Miles?
It's Patreon. It's the North Texas Eagle Patreon.
Okay. Awesome. And you can obviously find him on X or Twitter at DUNT6. You can find me. I'm at hoops_heels304, or I'm at Couz206 if you want to find my personal page. You mentioned Jeff Goodman. He put out a tweet. West Virginia, one of the candidates for the West Virginia job was a guy named Jared Calhoun, very successful coach at Utah State. He has ties to West Virginia, where he was an assistant under Huggins. Had huge backing from. It's been reported that he had huge backing from the donors. There are some donors not happy with this decision because they wanted Calhoun in the seat. But that's just college sports, man. Donors always want what they want. It is what it is. It's part of the politics of it. But Jeff Goodman basically put out a tweet saying West Virginia's going to regret passing on Jared Calhoun. And I'm paraphrasing, but
yeah, I saw that.
So that's interesting. That now I think that was before the hiring of Ross Hodge.
Yeah.
In fairness, I haven't seen any comments from him. Have you seen any comments from Goodman since?
Nothing negative like he was toward Grant and that hire there, but I just know how he is, and I know we don't really give him anything anymore because he's always going to put a little doubt, and I see why fans have a little bit of doubt. Like I said, he doesn't really have the accolades behind him, but I mean, I've never seen a coach besides Grant work as hard to get to this level and win with limited resources and limited money. That's going to be the problem right now, is finding a coach that is going to not have everything. You have support, but it's a minuscule amount of support. So, and Jeff is interesting in his own ways with how he talks about coaches and stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if he did say something, but I have full faith, and he's gonna have a lot to work with. So it's gonna be tough. I mean, you're a little bit behind right now, but especially, I mean, if they make it to the championship, that's on Thursday the 4th. So he probably wouldn't even get to West Virginia until the 5th, I'm assuming, if they win or lose.
That'd be an interesting day to do it because that's the day of our football spring showcase for spring
game. It's on a Friday?
No, the 5th is a Saturday, I believe.
Oh, is it? I
think so.
I swear.
Anyway, if it's that Saturday, it'll be
spring
game. But nonetheless, I look for them to do I don't expect them to do a press conference on a Saturday, honestly. I look for it to be a weekday. But nonetheless, you mentioned his salary earlier. One of the questions I've seen a lot of fans, and maybe this has been reported. If so, I haven't seen it. What is Ross Hodges' buyout at Texas Tech? Do you know that? I mean, at North Texas. Do you know the answer to that?
It's what we calculated was about $650,000. It was 60% of what his contract was. Okay. He was making about $500,000 without incentives. Yeah. I can pull up the actual.
That's close.
Yeah, it was 500 base, okay. And he had, of course, incentives, and I think he hit his incentives this year. But that's one of the lower contracts in this conference.
Yeah. So that was his salary, or his buyout was $650,000.
His buyout was about $650,000. That was what it was calculated as. Gotcha. Yeah. So that sucks on the North Texas end because you didn't extend him. There wasn't really a reason to extend him last year. It was a little bit of a down year.
1 year too. I mean,
most
coaches don't get extended after one season unless you do something remarkable.
Yeah, and they knew they weren't going to be able to match anything that a bigger school would have to give them.
Right.
There was at one point a small little thing with Oklahoma if Porter Moser left, but I honestly think Oklahoma is one of the worst jobs in the Power Four. I mean, they don't get a lot of support in men's basketball compared to football and softball.
Right.
That they're in the toughest conference in college basketball. I think that would have been a disaster. And I don't think he would have took that either.
For now. Big 12's coming back, baby.
I sure hope so. That would be a lot more appealing for us.
SEC, man, this year they were. I mean, if you don't get 14 teams in the NCAA tournament, so out of 16 teams. But anyway, You mentioned resources. How do North Texas's resources stack up to other teams in the American Conference?
I mean, it's it's pretty low. It's a lot of their NIL is at the bottom. I mean, there's not. I'm not going to provide exact numbers, but there was between two and 400,000 in NIL. I mean, you're last in donor revenue. You're one of the last in donors total.
In
You
the
don't.
conference?
Yeah.
Wow.
Um, and of course, we have a lot of private schools in this conference, like Tulsa.
And they
They
finished
would
second
definitely,
place in the
yeah,
conference, right? Okay.
yeah, and
That
teams like Memphis
yeah,
have just unlimited. It feels like,
right.
but you have just you just don't have everything you really need. You have a pretty okay arena. You don't have fan support. You have pretty good locker room. You have a little bit there, but you just don't have a lot of money to work with to kind of make things a little bit better. The Super Pit was built in 1976 or 1974. I apologize, 1974. It's old, and you don't have money to build an arena. You don't have fans that really pack it out. And he never said anything about it. Grant would always be kind of disappointed. Ross never said anything. He said one time he was like, I get it's cold outside. And I was like, that's a little bit of an excuse, in my opinion. But,
Mhm.
you could tell there would be sometimes he'd walk on the court and he'd look out. And I'm following him because I'm a photographer. So, I'm following him when he's walking out. He looks in the stands and you can see a little disappointment. There's things like that have happened. And, we just don't have exactly what it takes to for a coach to stay here a long time when there's getting other offers for a lot more, and when
Yeah.
you have a lot more to work with. You
Yeah.
just sometimes you just don't have it, and it's sad. This is a winning basketball program, the most successful program in athletics in the past 8 years. So it's disappointing for
Yeah.
sure. And same thing goes for football. I mean, it's not like football has a lot of stuff to work with either. But obviously they get more. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's one thing I want West Virginia fans to understand is West Virginia, even though we're not near we're not at the bottom in NIL or anything, but we're not at the top either in the Big 12. We're probably somewhere in the middle.
mm-hmm.
And, West Virginia is a program that's always had to do, when you compare us to our peers. Now, I'm not
Yeah,
comparing us to, no offense, but I'm not comparing us to the mid majors. When
yeah,
you look at Power 4 programs, right? Or in basketball, I guess you could say Power 5.
yeah,
But when you look at Power 5 programs, West Virginia is near the bottom in revenue. They're near the bottom in budget, probably in the middle to, bottom third in NIL. It's, and before the NIL era, it was the same thing. They usually had less resources because it's a smaller state. It's a lower economic state, not as many donors. So they've always been a program that's had to do more with less compared to their peers.
mm-hmm.
So I think that's another reason that Ross Hodge is a good fit at West Virginia, because now he's going to be going against schools like Texas Tech, who have a lot more resources, like
Oh my gosh,
probably even TCU and Baylor, because of they're those private Texas schools. BYU has a lot of resources now. I mean, just go on and on down the list. West Virginia is facing those schools every single year,
mm-hmm.
and now they have a coach who will be able to do a little bit more than he did in North Texas, because yes, he'll have more resources than he did, but yet he's still going to be going up against schools in his league who have more than he does, or more than his school does. So I think that's another reason I think he's a good fit. And
Yeah.
do you think Ross is the type of coach? This is another thing fans are fans are kind of skittish about another coach leaving after 1 year, right? Because we just had that happen to us.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody expected Aaron DeVries to leave after a year. It was like a kick to the teeth. And do you think Ross Hodges would do that?
I mean, I really don't think so. I mean, it would need to be like a really. I mean, he would need to have like a Final Four or national championship and one of those big
Right.
power schools call. Which I mean, no offense, I don't think that's going to happen.
Right.
I just don't think that's realistic. I mean, he was one of the longest tenured people in the athletic department employed by athletics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was here for a very long time. Most of the athletic department is all new. So he is one of the. I mean, he commits and he's going to stay probably for several years. I mean, I'd be shocked if he left to go somewhere else that would be kind of like a lateral move.
Right.
$3 million is quite a bit to pay.
Yeah.
And there would have to be something go terribly wrong, or Final Four national championship and a blue blood comes calling,
Yeah.
But that's also the thing. I mean, his
Yeah.
philosophy is a lot different than a lot of those blue blood schools, and they don't like the a little bit slower, more defensive oriented stuff. I mean, they want high, fast,
Yeah.
Alabama type scoring, and North Texas does not do that. And I honestly don't think. I mean, West Virginia is going to be shooting 101 points a game like Alabama does every game.
No. We just want to win, man. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously everybody likes an exciting style, but at the end of the day, if you win and your teams play hard, we will love you. That's
Yeah.
all we want you. Obviously, we want you to be a good man, but he already checks that box.
Yeah.
We want your teams to play hard. He checks that box. We know his teams are going to play hard because that's how they got where they are. Now, if they can just win, he will be beloved by West Virginia fans, man, because that's our culture. Grind it out. Kind of like I think it kind of works at North Texas too. And even in the state of Texas,
Yeah.
grind it out, work hard, blue collar work ethic. That type of coach. That's what we want.
I mean, you look at Houston is the best example,
Right?
and
Great
Drake
example.
when they had
Texas
Ben
Tech.
McCollum,
Mm-hmm.
Texas Tech. I mean, they are. And the thing is, I remember I talked to Grant when he left to go to Tech, and they played an exhibition game against A&M in Denton, and I went down the court. I was taking pictures, and I talked to Grant. I said, Coach, what are we going to do to get you to play a game against Ross? He's like, Miles, I'm telling you again, no, I do not want to play them. We're not going to schedule them. So
Wow.
I know, because they're best friends.
And he was serious?
He was dead serious.
Yeah.
There's a reason why. I mean, nobody wanted to schedule North Texas in the first place. It's been a big issue is scheduling. Same thing happened when Grant was here. Nobody wanted to schedule us because who wants to play against a team that's going to grind it out and you're going to get 61 points? I mean, it's ugly basketball, but I'm really excited for when y'all play Texas Tech, because I think Grant will be more scared than Ross, because he didn't want to play Ross at all.
Yeah.
He refused to play him, and Grant doesn't like playing his friends. So when he had to play Drew against Baylor, I mean, I bet you that was a little bit of a tough pill to swallow, because that's the guy that brought you up. So that's going to be a really fun game. I'll have that marked off on my calendar to sit down and watch.
Yeah, we're in a tough spot as West Virginia fans, because we got a lot of West Virginia fans are probably they want to see Ross do well, right? Mm-hmm. Because he's now one of us. Yeah. But at the same time, the sooner North Texas loses, the sooner he can get to Morgantown and get to work. So it's kind of a catch-22 for us, but we do wish him well, man. In this game coming up on Tuesday night, and I would say North Texas is going to have a lot of people in West Virginia pulling for them. Tuesday night in that game again, because
that's a tough one.
Once you become a Mountaineer, man, West Virginia fans will embrace you from day one. There are some fans out there who don't like to hire, but I think they're probably the minority. They're just really loud. Majority of Mountaineers will support him, and I think once we get a chance to meet him, once fans get a chance to hear him talk, meet him, see the kind of person he is, I think things will change, and I think he'll get more people on board and more on his side. And hopefully interviews like this will help when we can get to know who he is a little bit more and kind of what he's all about. One more quick question, and I'll let you go. Who's going to be North Texas's next coach?
That has been an issue the past, I would say, 28 hours. Scott Cross of Troy doesn't seem like it's the option now. He was a former coach at UTA. He's from DFW. He knows Texas very well, and it seems Troy is going to have him locked up. So that was a disappointment. There's people saying, our associate head coach under Ross, Johnny Estelle, is a candidate. That's right now. That's the one I'm looking at. There's some other people around.
You don't think Phil Forte is a candidate yet?
He doesn't have any head coaching experience, and that's what they're kind of going after.
Got it.
There's I have a personal connection with Tom Brown at West Texas A&M. He's their head coach in D2, and he's done a lot of winning. It's just that transition from D2 to D1 can be a little rough, and he didn't have that experience. But that's what they're kind of going after. And there's a guy like James Miller, who is our associate head coach, or he's the Oklahoma State associate head coach. He was at North Texas in Grant's first year with Ross, and that's someone that they're probably looking at. It's just he didn't have any head coaching experience, and he's been bouncing around a lot. And the last thing North Texas needs is to do another coaching search, and especially if football has a down year this year, we might be having another coaching search. So
Yep.
it's tough, and it's really tough to get someone in here when you don't have the full support with your whole, and your university doesn't support you. When you don't have your university supporting you, it's really hard. And UNT does not support UNT athletics. I'll be straight up. They are the worst at supporting athletics. They don't push it. They don't move the brand.
That's a shame.
I mean, they're social media people. Like it's terrible, and that's been an issue for decades. So that's just not really even a current thing. I mean, we've had some terrible presidents. We've had some terrible athletic directors. So it's
hopefully
tough.
Hopefully Wren wasn't one of those.
Wren pulled us out of the gutter. I will say that. Now, there's a little bit of people that don't like Wren just because of what he kind of did. He bounced before our head coach got fired and football, and he kind of left our head coach here too long and didn't fire him in the year before. So a lot of people
he kind of did that here too, to a degree.
Yeah, and this one kind of set our program back. It's still, we're trying to recover from that. We were at 1.1-6 and looking bleak, and he didn't pull the trigger. And we beat a ranked team. He stays another year, you fall behind. And so a lot of people, including me, I mean, I think that hurt the football program a lot, which hurts athletics. When football is not successful, it hurts athletics, as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're losing revenue. Yeah, you're losing revenue. You're losing, fan support in general. You're losing scholarship fund stuff. So I still like Wren Baker. He did a lot for the school. He was the biggest influencer with the plans of the renovations around the athletic campus. I mean, there's a lot of things he did great, but he put Jared, our athletic director, in a very tough position when he got here because he had to make a football hire. And at the point when we fired him, we had no athletic director. So it kind of set Jared off into a bad spot. But, Jared's a basketball guy, so I'm pretty sure he'll find the right guy. And, our fan base is freaking out. So it's been tough the past day and a half. I mean, people, including myself, or past 2 days, it's Friday. Good Lord. Past 2 days, it's been a little tough. So, we're hearing more and more. Hopefully we'll have this done if it's not done by the end of the NIT, Lord help us here at UNT.
Well, we wish you guys the best, man. I mean, we obviously, we've taken your athletic director and now your basketball coach. So here at West Virginia. So I say we as meaning West Virginia. I'm a fan. I don't hide it. So this is a fan channel. So, but yeah, we've taken your AD and now your coach. So I'm sure a lot of North Texas people probably don't have a soft spot for West Virginia right now, but we do for you. But we do for North Texas. We appreciate the culture. We appreciate what guys like Ross Hodge and Wren Baker and others have done there in a program that doesn't have the same amount of resources. I think we kind of have some commonality there. So we respect North Texas a lot here in West Virginia. But just one more time, man, let everybody know where they can find you and your work.
Yeah, so on Twitter, X, wherever you want to call it, it's the UNT6. That's where I do a lot of my stuff. We're on the North Texas Eagle. We're a little bit more football focused, but we've been doing some basketball stuff. We've had a lot of coaching stuff been talking about the past few days, a lot of podcasts on the North Texas Eagle Patreon. You can sign up for free. You can look at some of the stuff that we have. So, we're getting that up and going. Our traffic has been pretty heavy recently on that site. So we're loving it. So, so we're just keeping on going.
Coaching searches always bring traffic, man.
It brings a lot. I mean, we've had a lot of people visit, and I'll be heading up to Indianapolis for the NIT on Tuesday morning. So I'll get a chance to cover Ross and his potential final game or two. So it's tough. It's a personal thing. I love Ross, and he's done a lot for me personally. He gave me a hug after the game on Tuesday, awesome. I was like, yeah, that's what Grant did to me after he was leaving for Tech. So I was like, yeah, I think that might be it. But
Yeah.
you know, he's a great person. He's going to succeed so much. I mean, I'm so excited. I mean, I watched so much Texas Tech basketball the past 2 years. You would think I'm a fan, you know. So I'm gonna be excited to watch West Virginia
Yeah.
this year and see what he does. So
Yeah.
hopefully he schedules UNT. I would love to play someone like that. Now there's no connection, so
Right.
I think that would be fantastic. A little home and home in the next few years, because I mean, God forbid North Texas get a good team on the schedule. So
I
yeah,
hear you. All right, Miles, thank you for taking time out of your day to come on the show, man, and thank you for educating us West Virginians a little bit and West Virginia fans a little bit about Ross Hodge and who we're getting as a coach. And yeah, thanks again. And
of
everybody,
course,
please go check out Miles' work.
of course, I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, man. You have a great day.
You too.